Did this game have the best television adverts ever? So it's the top 10 Space Crusade TV advert moments. Let's go.
Number 10.
Flip up helmets.
Long before Marvel released their Iron Man movie starring Robert Downey Jr., the Space Marines from Space Crusade had flip up, or is it down, visors.
The weird thing is, outside of this Space Crusade advert, I would never have imagined Space Marines helmets having this ability to flip up and down. What's this? Telephones? Hello?
I always thought that the actual helmet was like a two-piece clamshell job, one part being the chinny bit and the other, on the top, having the eye lenses. Interestingly, this was around the time Mark VII Space Marine armour was being introduced and Mark VI sadly was being phased out. In the miniature world, that is. Myself, I did prefer the Mark VI. Anyway, when I saw this advert as a kid, I actually thought the Space Marines were the bad guys. Their suits looked so evil to me. Number 9. The price. Around £25.99. Yes, of course, £24.99 would have just been too cheap. I think I remember myself paying around £15 for this in the local Games Workshop sale when it was piled up around the room. There were loads and loads of copies of this and all the expansions. It seemed a really good deal to me at the time, as it included so many miniatures, around 50, whereas if I spent the same on a tactical squad, which were the metal ones at the time, I would have only got around 10. Then, a few days later, after purchasing, I realised my folly, as all the miniatures were monopose and nowhere near as high a quality as the metals. I was gutted.
Now, looking back at these old miniatures, they are actually quite nice, if a little weird.
It was at around this time I realised the much higher detail level of the metal miniatures. Even at around 10 years old, you notice the quality differences. There was no fooling us back then. So I think I went back and bought the original Ultramarines Metal Captain miniature with the rest of my pocket money. Or it may have been my birthday or Christmas money. But I've no idea where that miniature went. It's been lost to the sands of time. Number 8. That spaceship. Who owns this ship? What faction is that from? Can I get one in 40k? No sir, no you cannot. It doesn't exist. Well, not in the main line anyway. Looking at it now, I would imagine it's some sort of Eldar craft. It also reminds me of the Angel Interceptors from Captain Scarlet, or the ship from Buck Rogers. Now, whilst doing my research for the Buck Rogers ship, I was watching the trailer for Buck Rogers, and there was a point halfway through where I was wondering if I was actually watching the right thing. The trailer was starting to look a little adult, if you know what I mean.
That reminds me, when I was a youngster, my
Friends.
dad had a poster of Colonel Wilmer Deering on his wall in his garage where all the tools were. Looking back now, I can see why he had it.
They don't make TV shows like that anymore. Anyway, I do like the Buck Rogers ship, I've no idea of the name, but I do like the twin nacelle look. In the Rogue Trader rulebook, there is a ship that reminds me a little of this, but it's only used in a rule example. Maybe we need to scratch build one of these.
So on closer inspection, it actually looks a lot like the Eldar Nightwing. To me, anyway.
It's a long nose with a serrated type front, with two pointy wings, a cockpit in the same place, I think, and the rear vertical wings. Is it a coincidence? You decide. Number 7.
This beautiful font.
I love the art style of this box, especially the fonts. It's so 80s, even though it was almost the 90s. I believe it was released in 1989, although I've a funny feeling I'm about to look at Twit and find out it was actually the 90s.
Okay, it says here it came out in 1990. I was a little wrong, I do apologise. I'm not that far out.
So anyway, the font is something I hadn't seen before on any other products, and I don't think we have seen reused since. I would love to know the name of this font. Are there any font experts out there? Do you guys think it's a better font than the Space Hulk font? Now that's a discussion that might cause a few arguments. Number 6.
All these fake miniatures.
Yes, all those miniatures in the TV advert, the magazine adverts, and even the painted miniatures in the box art and in White Dwarf are not the actual miniatures you get. They are metal prototypes painted to look plastic. I believe all the ones used in the box art and promotional material were painted by Mike McVeigh way back in the day. He still has them, I believe, in his shop. Some of the minis are even quite different. The Chaos Commander, for example, has close combat options on the box art that he doesn't get in the game. In the game, he actually has a heavy bolter. I do feel for the poor kid who thought he had maybe lost his parts. Where's my Chaos Commander close combat weapon? Poor children.
When I was a lad, I don't think I was intelligent enough to notice this. Either that or I forgot.
Now some people think the box art miniatures look better. The Gretchen perhaps I might agree with, but the others actually look quite similar to me. Number 5.
The sound effects.
With extra emphasis on the bolter. Now I'm pretty sure we're all quite clued up on what a bolter should sound like. It fires a mini rocket thing that explodes on impact.
One thing I think we can all agree on is that the bolter is not a laser weapon.
Well, Space Crusade says, F you, it's a laser weapon now. Was this before they actually settled on what the bolter actually was? Or was it already established? I'm pretty sure in the older artwork you could see the physical ammunition in the bolter magazines. Unless I imagined that. Number 4.
The rubber Genestealers.
Now, we all know what a Genestealer is, but have you ever seen one in real life? Well, this is the next best thing. It's a giant cosplay Genestealer. I do wonder what happened to this suit.
Actually, I wonder what happened to all those suits. There were Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines, and of course that Genestealer. Are they all hidden up in someone's garage somewhere? Maybe they have a poster of Colonel Deering too.
It's got a pretty funny face. The eyes just look like big balls glued on and painted yellow. Well, I think it's yellow. It also has 2 weird circular things on its chest. They remind me of the armour plates on Thor's chest plate in the Avengers. Maybe the Genestealer is Asgardian, but I doubt it. At the end of the day, this rubber one looks a hell of a lot better than the weird ones in the 3DO Space Hulk animations. Theirs look like they had a nasty accident involving their heads in a vice. They are so squished. Number 3.
The game itself.
We can't really have a Space Crusade commercial top 10 moments without mentioning the game itself. It's a nice little game. There's some big square board sections that are a lot like modern day Zone Mortalis, but I bet this set's a lot cheaper to make a 4x4 board with than the official Zone Mortalis ones. When I was a lad, I picked this game over the Tactical Squad, like I said, as I felt I was getting more for my money. There's loads of miniatures in here, perfect to practice your painting on. You get some Necrons, or Chaos Androids, Genestealers, Marines, Orcs, Gretchen, Chaos Space Marines, and of course, the Dreadnought. At the time, my paint jobs were terrible. I used to paint them on a little stool in the living room next to one of those old 1980s style gas heaters. Who remembers those things? I used to love all the little pieces of artwork in the manuals. One of them told a story about Space Marines working their way into the Space Hulk. Do they actually refer to it as a Space Hulk? Or just a ship? I don't actually know.
Let me have a look. Ah, yes. It's a Space Hulk.
Anyway, this story really sets the scene and gets you super inspired to play. Sadly, I only ever got to play it once. I tried to introduce my friend to it, but he found the rules too complicated and didn't want to play. We are not friends anymore. This is something I hope to remedy soon. Playing the game, I mean, not becoming friends again.
Excuse me while I build number 2.
Number 2.
The Dreadnought.
Dreadnought!
You know what? Looking back, I think these Dreadnought sculpts are really nice. I love that long, flat head with a face on the end, and the weapons hanging down with those backwards chicken legs. We can assume, based on the year of release, it was heavily influenced by the likes of Ed 209 from RoboCop. Now that was a good design. And I was today years old when I realised from my research that ED stands for Enforcement Droid.
Hands up if you're a fan of the RoboCop movies. Oh, actually hands up if you're a fan of the first 2. We'll pretend the third one and the remake don't exist.
A few people have said that the Derrideo Dreadnought from Forge World is the new version of this design, the design that Chaos corrupted to come up with the Space Crusade version, and I think that's a fair comment. It also looks a little like the Armiger Knights to me, has the head at the front and the long sloping head. I would actually like to see a new version of this Dreadnought. But my question is, does it look better painted up in the grey of the artwork, or the flaming legs paint job by Mike McVeigh? Let us all know in the comments below.
Says here on the back of the box, if you enjoy this video, then please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. That means you, Daniel. I see you haven't subscribed yet.
Number 1.
The 1990s style jumpers or sweatshirts.
If you don't own a late 80s or early 1990s jumper, I feel you are missing out. I believe the correct term for them is a sweatshirt, but who calls them that? I guess we sometimes use the word sweater. Well, some might. These things were amazing. Sadly, I've lost most of mine due to the sands of time again, but I still remember them fondly.
So I myself have this one. It cost me around £12 from Primark, and that's more than double I expect to pay for a jumper. I mean sweatshirt.
There's a gentleman you might recognise on YouTube who seems to be a big ambassador for this look. Emil over at Squidmar Miniatures. He even makes his own sweaters as part of his merch. I recommend going to have a look at his channel if you're into the hobby. Now, the sweaters themselves usually had brand names emblazoned along the front. Reebok was a good one, or Pineapple. What even was Pineapple? I think it was a dance studio or something. Oh, and we mustn't forget Mizuno. I think I had that one.
So do you agree with this top 10? If you don't, what would you change? If you enjoy the content here and you'd like to support the channel, then please consider joining the Patreon, the link to which is in the description below. If you want to see some more Space Crusade related content, and I know you do, check out the playlist up here somewhere. As always, thank you very much for watching, and always remember to drill your barrels.